I like the point that Francis made earlier regarding trying to make things as simplistic as possible and eliminating as much confusion as possible. I think like the top three things, religion, finance, politics, like making that as simple as possible for me being the non-married member of the panel. I would like to, I have in my mind, like, yeah, I want a person that believes all these things, but I'm going to try to get someone that's as identical to that as possible. So that means finding someone in the church that I attend, someone that's in the same kind of praising circles as me. Then that's the route that I'm going to go to make it as simple as possible.
Gwan, are you there? What's good? And you know who this is, baby. The number one podcast in America, dedicated to all you kings and queens of color, homies and homettes, shotters, woo gals, G-boys, and chargies. The one and only Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast.
So could you move forward with your partner has a different religious or spiritual belief than you?
Yeah, I can do that. I think the key thing for me is if you're not atheist, if you believe in some form of God, you know, I think I can definitely live with that.
Hmm.
But if you completely say there's no God and we all just like trying to prove everything is with science to me, then that's when I kind of like have a problem that I think with that relationship. But because I've seen couples who I really admire their relationship who do share different religion, who are from two different religions, and they make it work. They're it was obviously it actually comes with its own different challenges. Especially if you're trying to do a wedding. Especially as Africans, there's different requirements that each religion needs, and navigating through that as its own. It can break up a wedding or like a to be couple even before even the relationship even started, even before the wedding even starts, because of the disagreement and the issues between both side of the family. But ultimately, I said all of that to say, relationships is difficult, but that is the one that I can definitely try to navigate through. I think we can make that work for sure.
True.
Yeah, for me, I would have to say no, just because of I don't know. I feel like religion is such a core value for me, a core component of not well, a core component of who I am, or so it would be something that again I would want to pass down to my children, my ideologies, and to have a partner that conflicts with those, would be too challenging for me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Especially if you look at some religions where tend to be on the ethno-religious scale, or sometimes you don't have a choice but to convert over if you want that relationship to happen. So it's a matter of, okay, am I going to convert or are you going to convert? Like, what's going on? So I like the point that Francis made earlier regarding trying to make things as simplistic as possible and eliminating as much confusion as possible. I think like the top three things, religion, finance, politics, like making that as simple as possible for me being the non-married member of the panel. I would like to, I have in my mind, like, yeah, I want a person that believes all these things, but I'm going to try to get someone that's as identical to that as possible. So that means finding someone in the church that I attend, someone that's in the same kind of praising circles as me. Then that's the route that I'm going to go to make it as simple as possible. And just get it. And I think that's what the dating phase is about, finding out all these things about the person before you take that next step. So, but I always
Okay.
agree, yes, I want to have my partner to have the same views as me.
Okay, so I have a question because we talked about this when I forgot which episode this was, when we talk about just the dating phase. Then you're like, "Oops, I actually like this person." I'm catching feelings. Is that when some of this deception comes into play? Like she's fine as hell. You actually do like her. She can cook. She throw down. But the religion part is, it's really like the only part of the relationship that you guys do not. There's no cohesion there. You guys are not aligned on the religion piece. But she's not gonna force you to change to her belief, or you also not gonna force her to like transition to your religion. So if there's that like that understanding there, do you think Like, because I mean, I for me, I was like, yo, if I like this girl for every part of her, and that is the only thing that doesn't work for me, I might be willing to make it work.
Yeah, I would
What
say
you guys think?
those. Yeah, I would say those are on my big three, and I think when it comes to a point made about having children now, what's going to happen when she says, "Well, I want my child to be Muslim," and you say, "No, I want my child to be Catholic." So what's going to happen? Are you just going to split the baby in half? So it's just going to be
Just have a
like,
Catholic Muslim.
nah,
I
it's not
mean,
going to
I mean,
work.
it works.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife grew up Catholic, and we just did a baptism for my son, from a Catholic perspective. And I'm Nigerian. We have naming ceremony. We do all this stuff. We also did it from my side. So like you can coexist. I think you can coexist with depending on the love and care that you guys have, and you're not trying to like force
Mm.
each other in one direction. And that's why I mentioned the couple that I do admire, that I've seen who also share the same, share different backgrounds. I see how their relationship is, and I think they have one of the most beautiful relationship, and they make it work. So that's
Mm.
why for me, I'm like, okay, it does. You can really make it work. It just depends on the individual. What's your value or hierarchy, right? I think you kind of mentioned it. If
Yeah.
it is on your top three and you can, like, yeah, this is a no for me,
Mhm.
then yeah, then I definitely respect that for sure.
So, once again, the way I look at it is everyone has valid points, but being that if you have diverse backgrounds, it makes it better for the child. In that sense, that we think about how we were raised and like we're forced into one type of pocket. We can't be anything else but that. And then when we come out of that, we were able to show our parents our level of flexibility. They're more than what they think is out there. And then we became more aware of things that our parents and other family members weren't aware of. So it's just like, hey, you have two different political beliefs, and I can see both sides very easily because I grew up in a household that both of my parents were able to have a conversation about politics at the table, and it wasn't yelling and screaming. I'm able to soak all that in, and it's easier for me to just identify, like, hey, these are the best policies, these are the worst policies, this person's a jackass, this person's amazing. Looking at religion, it's just like, yeah, you're not going to have a Catholic Muslim, but it may drive the child to a different religion, right? It may get them to explore what else is out there. At the end of the day, from what I understand, a true religion is a religion that someone will end up coming back to. So I've studied with Jehovah Witnesses, I've studied with people that were Muslim, I studied with people that were Jewish. And at the end of the day, it's just like, all right, I make my decision based off what I understand and what I know. There's nothing wrong with any religion, honestly. You have a foundation of belief, and that's what gets you through a lot of tough scenarios, right? This is people that believe there's just nothing higher than them that struggle the most because they put all the burdens on themselves. So to me, it's beneficial to have that dynamic. Um, can it be hurtful if people aren't mature enough? Yes, it can be very fiery and a huge issue. But I think it definitely helps the child if you're able to articulate that and still show love and care, I was mentioned before.
I have a question. This one real
Mm.
quick. How did you guys get started in the church? Like, was it your parents that pushed you into it? Did any particular parent push you into it, or was that something like did you identify with it later on in your adult years? Or is that something that you had from the beginning? You were actually raised with a religion to follow?
Yeah, that's a really good question because being Nigerian, religion is fundamentally part of our culture, and there's varying religions, but yeah, it's fundamentally part of our culture. So my parents definitely, pushed me into religion very early on, spent a lot of our time in church. Um, but I will say that, I didn't feel like I found it until like later on in life, until I was mature enough to understand what I, actually had in front of me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, same here. Growing up, man, like we used to go to church like 7 days a week, every day, and those teaching though, like it's so crazy because I can draw back to them as an adult, and then because it kind of gave me this foundation in my religion beliefs, and I mean, so that's kind of how I came up. And it's funny because my mom was the stronger was stronger in her belief than my dad was, and my dad like over time like grew his belief into like to kind of like to my mom's level. But yeah, but it was easier for both of us to, for both of them to have the same belief, because we knew what it was, right? You know, because we had family prayers at home. We were able to take what we did outside of the home into
And
the
bring it
home.
into the house.
So because there was cohesion there, there's alignment there. You know, we know like there's this union in the family system or the family dynamic that we had. So it was very easy to navigate within my scope. So um, but yeah, so that's kind of where mine came from.
I was forced into it by my grandmother, and as you see today, I don't identify with any religion, but my thing is that I'm able to learn from all of them. So it gives me a better perspective when I teach, my daughter, like, hey, you can pick whatever you want. I'm just gonna love you regardless. Pick what fits who you are and your personality that you feel more comfortable with. I'm not gonna force you into something that you're gonna resent me for later. You have to have a belief. You got to know that you're not going to be the only one handling your problems, and that you can pass it off to something else. Whatever you believe that something else to be, it's 100% on you. But I fully love you no matter what. You may find out at the age of 18, you may find out at the age of 56. It's all good. As long as you find some peace and comfort, the sooner the better, is the goal and direction. So moving forward, we're going to go to I can live with it. Can y'all live with your significant other being a bad driver? I mean, like every time you get in the car, you're grabbing the oh shit handle, you're pumping in invisible brakes. They're just, just yelling at people, even though they're the one in the wrong. Is that something you can spend the rest of your life with someone like that? Like,
wait,
it's okay.
Hold up. With how bad of a driver though?
I'm saying they make a right hand turn and they hit the curb like, oops. And your ass is up there.
All right, because that sometimes there's those bad drivers that don't drive well, but they don't get into accidents or nothing. But I'm talking about bad accidents,
raking up the insurance.
Whatever a bad driver means to you, right? So like, I don't care about speeding. Like that's on you and your record, right?
Wow, you're a bad driver.
Not if y'all share an insurance policy.
But at the end of the day, it's just like how many points you rack up is going to be a conversation. So you can be a great driver and you get into very bad incidents, right? So it's just like, we're used to driving in the snow, being from Jersey, and we drive around people who don't know how to drive in the snow, and then accidents being caused. The entire winter, I'm getting accidents left and right because I'm
especially if they're speeding in the snow, right, Chunky?
Whatever. At the end of the day, if you're cleared of the accident and it's not your fault, or you live in a no fault state, it's like subjective bad driving.
Like being a Jersey resident and witnessing the horrible driving.
Like, hell no.
You'll hear me road rage. Like if you share an insurance policy, because to me that's responsibility, man. And if you're like making insurance, you're making life a little bit more expensive, we may have to reconsider that.
Jersey drivers are not bad. I'm telling you from
experience.
No, drive somewhere else for a few years. Like I appreciate Jersey drivers. We get to where we gotta go to. The only state I know that the drivers can go 80 miles an hour bumper to bumper and not get into an accident. Like when I come home and I'm on the parkway, I'm doing like not about the speed limit. I'm getting past it where the car is shaking. And it's just like to me, out of every place I've been, they're the better drivers. Of course, I'm biased because I'm from New Jersey. But at the end of the day, it's just like if you cut me off, I know we're gonna argue, right? Fuck you, fuck your mom. All right, have a good day. Other places, like people will cut you off and not even give you eye contact. Like you just don't exist, and it's just like that shit is infuriating.
What? You just want to argue? Is that the point? You want to
I don't want to argue.
You want
my man.
You want to throw the bird?
But my man.
What? What's the point of the eye contact?
Or my lady, or my them, or they.
Right.
You see me. I do not drive a dark colored vehicle.
Okay.
There's no way you slide into my lane. And I can see myself in your side view mirror, and you still get in that lane.
But that's the point. They don't want to stare at you after they did it.
Fuck
They're trying I'm trying to get out of this
traffic. And we in traffic.
Your range of acceptable driving just keeps increasing.
I know. For me,
Oh, they
that's
flipped me the
a
finger.
hard
That's
no.
okay. That's Jersey.
And they revising our conceal and carry laws now. So yeah, you may not want to get into that bumper to bumper, that fender bender or whatever. Now,
But it's
I've been
okay
in-
because
But it's
I've been-
chunky though.
I've been in states that
Chunky chose violence.
exactly. Like yo,
as long as anywhere there's violence, he's okay.
I will weigh it out. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna sit there and just punch the window out in your car. Like, nah, like there's a limit. But if
You
you're doing
ain't-
some reckless shit,
you ain't
Yo,
been here
bro,
long enough,
I
bro.
ain't
You've been on
gonna
the
lie,
West
man.
Coast too long, man.
I'd be scared, man. I remember I was
You
I was
come
I was
back.
I was on a trip to Arizona and my boy was driving and I thought he was driving real reckless and he's like going back and forth with this other driver and I swear to God I was nervous because I was like I don't know what this other driver's gonna do, but he pulled up next to me, so on the right side. I was like, yo, bro, I'm in your driver's seat. Like whatever your issue is, I'm gonna get hit first. Like I don't want to get caught in your little BS, bro. So like,
just hit
so
that
like
button on
that's
the
what I'm
side of the seat
saying.
and just recline back.
Nah,
He said
it's
just
not. In a,
recline back.
every
What's wrong
time
with
an
you?
accident happens, it's not the driver that get hurt; it's the passenger. I don't want to be a casualty.
That part.
Ooh, that's a good
Yes,
point.
behavior. So please, when I'm in the car, please keep it cool. This is for all of the
So
audiences.
don't get in the car with me.
So,
Yeah,
so you
well,
telling people
lesson
they should
learned,
check
lesson
in
learned,
every
yes.
driver to make sure it's not you.
It's on and popping.
What's good? It's your homie G with the Jerk Jollof and Collard Greens podcast, extending a major thank you